I'm putting this video together to help decide where we want to go on a bro trip. I'm calling it the He-Man Woman Haters Club ski trip. It's just me and a buddy of mine that we've been skiing together for, well, since like 2014. So more than 10 years of snow skiing. Well, we snowboard. And every year we take our families. It's a great time. If you have a family and haven't gone with them yet, do that first. If you don't have a family or you got some buddies that you want to go with, do that too, man. Snow skiing is a blast. But this is just, I did a whole bunch of research and I thought maybe it might help somebody else out, give you an idea of cost. And yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. If you want to skip ahead and just see like a quick overview of overall cost, depending on where you go, I think I'll have a chapter at the bottom and it'll take you directly to there. And if not, sit back and enjoy. We'll talk about skiing all over the United States. All right, so if you have never been on a ski trip and you're planning a ski trip with the boys, Angel Fire Resort from Texas is one of the closest. There's Red River, Ruidoso, Taos, Angel Fire. I like Angel Fire. Red River was a lot of fun. So using Angel Fire as a trip basis, we would do it by car. It's 732 miles from the house, approximately 12 hours. It called it 1118. That's 1,464 miles round trip. If you do how many gallons that'll take, it's 17 miles per gallon. That's 86 gallons. Now, obviously, if you got a better car, you'll get better. Worse. Just giving you an idea. So at 86 gallons, at the Texas state average of $2.78 per gallon, that is $239.40 worth of fuel. Throw in an extra 18-gallon tank for around town while you're there. That's $50.04. Grand total of $289.44 for travel. Round that up to $300 just in case you run into whatever. And that's kind of our low bar. You know, that's the entry cost to go snow skiing. After that, we got you have to have somewhere to stay. So for a 2-bedroom condo in Angel Fire, 0.2 miles from the resort, I might add, is $632.30. And that's a great price. I have actually seen some pretty good prices at a bunch of the resorts, so it's not too terrible to find. I think the hardest thing is, especially really high-end resorts, lift tickets become very expensive. Lodging starts to become much more expensive. And yeah. And of course, for the mountain itself, lift tickets at Angel Fire are $114 per day as of right now. Grand total of $342 for 3 days of skiing. Now, mind you, they always have a good sale on Black Friday. So if you were kind of thinking about making this trip, hold out till Black Friday and then buy the tickets. They are definitely cheaper online, as with every resort that we talk about. Buy in advance, save a little money. Rentals from the resort. So this is directly from the resort. There are 5 or 6 other companies in Angel Fire that'll rent you ski gear. Is $55 a day. That's $165 for a 3-day ski trip. And on Angel Fire, they have 56% of their mountain is blue. I don't remember the exact percentage of green, but it's more than black. So it's a blue mountain with a pretty good bit of green. Great for beginner, intermediate riders. And the total of lift tickets and rentals for a 3-day ski trip there would be $507. Now, take that into account. This is a 2-man trip. We're not renting anything there. We have our own snowboards and gear. So our total to go to Angel Fire per person, split in 2, is $808.10. Summit County is probably one of the pinnacles, the aim points of snowboarding, snow skiing in the United States. It's definitely a hot spot. You have Keystone, Vail, Beaver Creek, Crested Butte, Copper. I think Winter Park might be slightly out of, but it's right there also. And those are like, every single one of those is a world-class ski resort. You also have A Basin, another great one. Loveland. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of places up there. But for mine, I just called it Summit County, and I aimed it at Keystone, but Keystone and Breckenridge are like right down the street. They're on the same pass, so it doesn't change anything at all. If we're not gonna drive, then we have to fly, which means we have to get to an airport. We live 2 hours from the DFW airport, so take that into account. I found right now, and this is October, Frontier has round trip flights to Denver airport for $88 round trip. It's a 2 hour and 13-minute flight. The rental car that I found was $298 on Expedia. I like to use Turo, but Turo got beat out on a handful of these places. If you're going somewhere unusual, excuse me, or you need a large vehicle, Turo almost always wins. The drive from the Denver airport up to Keystone is 1 hour and 33 minutes, another 97 miles. Bringing up your grand total to 5 hours and 56 minutes of traveling. So that'll take all day, but it's not too bad. And that brings your grand total to, rounded up estimate of $400. So $100 extra to get there, not terrible. It really helped that we found those $88 tickets. So once you get there, you gotta have a place to stay. I found a 2-bedroom condo, 9.76 miles from Keystone, which kind of works out better if we go to some of the other resorts because it brought you down away from the mountain, further into Frisco. And that 2-bedroom condo was $806.63. Bringing the total of lodging to $806.63. The mountain itself, lift tickets per day are $84. 3-day is $252. If you happen to want to go to Breck, it's $327 for the same 3-day lift ticket. It is epic. It is an epic pass lift ticket, so it's not that big a deal to get it figured out. Let's talk about the mountain. So lift tickets are $84 a day, $252 for a 3-day pass. Rentals from the mountain itself, from Keystone, is $62 a day, $186 for a 3-day rental. The terrain is 39% blue and 49% black, which is a pretty good bit of black. But when you look at the size of the mountain, at 3,149 skiable acres, the 39% of blue at Keystone is much more notable than the 56% of blue of 560 acres at Angel Fire. So we'll have plenty of things to ski on, have a great time. And then if you wanted to go to, say, Crested Butte, Beaver Creek, Vail, or Breckenridge, you'd have to bump up to the pass that includes all the resorts, which is $327 for a 3-day pass. And if you were curious, Breckenridge has another 2,908 acres of skiable acres, and Vail has another 5,317 acres of skiable area. So when you're talking about that bump from $252 to $327, you can now go to every single one of those resorts. They're not specific. Once you pay for the larger 3-day pass, you can hit any of them. Anyway, if we're going to Keystone, not renting equipment, our total will be per person, which isn't bad considering the quote-unquote cheap ski trip is $808 to Angel Fire. Let's talk about the East Coast. I want to tell you up front, I have no knowledge of the East Coast at all. I haven't been skiing there at all. I only know what I looked up. And pretty much I just was looking for a relatively close resort to an international airport, so it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to get there. And so I chose Stowe, Vermont. And Stowe apparently is the grandfather of snow skiing, something like that. Grandfather of ski resorts, maybe, in the United States. Seemed like a pretty cool thing. They also have Smuggler's Cove that's right by. You could go to there also if you wanted to. So the same thing starts. We got travel. We have to drive to DFW to get to the airplane. That's 2 hours. The flight is $488 round trip, an extra $400 bill to go to Vermont. And it's also a 5 hour and 17 minute flight time with layover. The rental car was also more expensive at $315 on Expedia, bringing our total time of travel to 7 hours. Oh, I'm sorry. And the distance from the airport to the resort is 39 minutes. Bringing our total travel time 7 hours and 56 minutes. Sorry, my dog's bumping the deal. Total time of 7 hours and 56 minutes, which is still not that bad. It's going to be the whole day, but it'll be doable. And a total of $850 for travel, which is rental car and flights. Next, we found lodging, a 2-bedroom apartment, 9.8 miles from Stowe, at $652.96, bringing your total of lodging up to $652.96. And then, last but not least, the mountain itself. The tickets are $84 a day, lift tickets, bringing it up to $252, and that sounds just like Keystone because it is in fact the same Epic Pass that Keystone's on. Ski rentals are $61 a day, being $183 for the 3 days. Stowe Mountain is 55% blue, which works out great because it's a much smaller skiable acre at 485 skiable acres. At least that's what I read. Bringing your total of lift tickets and rentals up to $435 for a 3-day trip. And if we decide to go to Stowe, Vermont, our approximate per person ticket or per person cost will be. And again, that's not including rentals. We both have our own snowboard. Talking about another juggernaut of the ski industry, Lake Tahoe carries maybe more ski resorts than even Summit County, and they have some big ones. They have, just to name a few, mind you, I couldn't look up every ski resort in the world. They have Kirkwood, NorthStar, Heavenly. They also have Palisades, and they have, what was the other one that I saw that I wanted to mention? Anyway, they have a bunch. For this particular trip, going to Tahoe, I decided to do all the pricing towards Heavenly, but I think everything will be relatively similar. So starting with travel, we got our 2-hour drive to DFW Airport. The flights, I actually found a really cheap flight. It was on Spirit Airlines for $190, but it had a layover and it took 5 hours and 20 minutes, or for $427, there was a non-stop American flight for 3 hours and 37 minutes. I chose to go with the American flight, at least on the price breakdown, just because non-stop sounds better. For the rental car, I looked up Expedia, and it was like $612 for an all-wheel drive vehicle. And on Turo, I found a Jeep Grand Cherokee, I believe, for $405.21, bringing the total of the travel expense to a rounded up price of $850. Then for lodging, for $818.36, I found a 2-bedroom suite. They called it a suite in cabin. I don't know exactly what that means, but it was only 5.66 miles from Heavenly, So we, wrote it down, $818.36 for lodgings. And then on the mountain, it's $84 a day for the ticket, or $252 for a 3-day pass, which sounds really similar because it's the exact same pass that Keystone is. Rentals were a touch higher, $72 per day on the mountain for $216 for a 3-day pass. And Heavenly has 45% blue. Your total for the lift ticket and rentals, if you were to go there, is $468. And that 45% blue is 45% of 4,800 skiable acres. And NorthStar and Kirkwood are on the exact same pass, which means you could hit those up also. NorthStar has an additional 3,170 acres, and Kirkwood is 2,300 acres. All big, huge monster ones. So to go to Lake Tahoe to go skiing, the total per person will come in right at Now let's talk about the outlier. So I follow a guy by the name of Jonathan Buckhouse, and he is a snowboard YouTube creator guy. He also started I guess one of his subscribers helped him start a website called resortskimaps.com. I'll put it in the description, I guess. Anyway, he was live streaming the other day, and I popped in his live stream and said, hey, if you were gonna fly into a ski mountain, somewhere to go skiing, where would you go? He lives in Summit County, so his first thought was Tahoe, which makes sense on what I'm finding in the numbers. And then his second mention was a little place called Lee Canyon. Lee Canyon is a 1-hour drive from the Vegas Strip. So, that being said, we got our 2-hour drive to DFW. Flights on Southwestern, they were the cheapest for this particular mountain. A nonstop flight was 3 hours on Southwestern for $171. Car rentals was $406 on Expedia and $269.32 if you used the Turo app, bringing a grand total to $440.32 for travel. The lodging, we found a 3-bedroom on the strip, quote unquote on the strip, I think it's like a half a block off, for $678.59. And it's a 58-minute drive, 54-mile to Lee Canyon Ski Resort, bringing the total for lodging to $678.59. And then the mountain itself is $79 a day for a ticket, $237 for a 3-day ticket. I could not find any of the rental prices. It said to be determined on their website, which I don't know what that means, other than I guess they just didn't want to leave the old ones up. I think they must be going up probably. It has 60% blue terrain. The only downside to this one is it does only have 195 skiable acres, which is quite small. This is, just the front side of the small ski resorts that we were talking about before. And last but not least, I did a couple of quick honorable mentions. Winter Park, basically take the Keystone trip, change the lodging to $796.07 for a 2-bedroom condo. It's only 5 miles away. It's slightly closer to the Denver airport. But the whopper is the ski lift tickets are $612 for a 3-day lift ticket. It does still have 3,000 acres of skiable area, so that's super cool. And then Palisades, Tahoe, which we found lodging 35 minutes from there for $552 for a 2-bedroom. That's really not too bad, but honestly, we could stay at that one or we could stay at the one we were already talking about, and I think the travel time would be about the same. And for Palisades, lodging doesn't go up much, but lift tickets are $188 a day, or you can get a 4-day pass for $469. So cheaper than Winter Park, but still notably the highest on the list. The upside to Palisade Tahoe is it has 6,000 plus skiable acres, which is crazy. I think that's as big as 2 of the other largest ski resorts that we had. So, well, all that being said, here is a list of a breakdown for all the different options that I put out there. I'm gonna give my buddy a day or two to look at this, and we're going to talk about which one we all prefer to go to. There's no limit to how many people you could expand this to. I will say once you get to about 3 families or 12 plus people, it becomes very challenging to find rental properties that aren't astronomically high. So keep that in mind if you're trying to take a whole bunch of people. If you're just taking you and the boys, well, you'll probably be fine. Thank you for watching. I hope this helped you pick out your ski trip. We'll see you next time.